You ever heard of Magento getting a bad rap for having kind of lousy performance? I have, actually, and it's a pretty frequent complaint about Magento. You see, in my experience, the core product honestly is not bad. Like, they've done a lot of performance optimization over the years, and I mean, I'm sure it's not like the best in the world, but at the end of the day, it's fairly reasonable. What happens is the core product is improperly used. There's poor development practices, there's poorly built modules that are installed on, or there is one other area, and that's what I'm going to be talking about a little bit in this video, just with a couple of quick hints. As always, with our Knowledge Bite questions, we go through a question and provide, actually today it'll be 4 answers, and try to see which of those answers are correct answers, so that we're being able to give good advice to the merchants that we're interacting with, our colleagues, etc. Before we jump in, though, I always like to mention that SwiftOtter.com, SwiftOtter.com, go there, and we have lots of information as far as how you can become a better Magento 2 or Adobe Commerce developer. So without further ado, let's jump over and get this question rolling here. You are working with a third-party integrator to upload product information into Adobe Commerce. As an expert practitioner, you know there is more to the story than just the API URL to save product information. Here is the question. Which 2 recommendations do you give to ensure that product updates do not cause performance problems? And this is a really important question. I've dealt with this before, and it can improperly done product updates can absolutely cripple an entire Magento website. So this is a very important question. Let's take a look at the answers here we've come up with. And again, I would be curious to hear your answers, your additional suggestions or techniques, because this is just 2 we're going to be talking about out of many more. But I love it when you can add in your voice as far as additional suggestions here. Let's jump in and take a look. A, utilize the bulk APIs to save product information. B, upload all product data in each product update. And that would ensure that product data never goes stale in Magento. Investigate using a direct MySQL connection to save values. Or D, queue up product information to be uploaded on a schedule. At the end of the day, these all are suggestions, well, for the most part, to help increase the performance of a Magento website. Give or take, there's one in there that is not necessarily that. And so let's walk through each one of them and check the veracity of each and see how this works. All right. Answer A, utilize the bulk APIs to save product information. Now, the bulk APIs is built on top of this asynchronous message queuing system. Basically, the way that it works, let's jump over into the code, is I have my environment set up here, and ultimately, or my URL, excuse me, I have the authentication all set as well. And you can basically drop in product details into here. It's a different API call, so it's not the same, but firing off a post request, adding this information in here, we get back a data hash, and we can then go ping the bulk API to see, is this job done or not? Now, as proof that it does work, I see that I verified this in the database. And the way to keep this running in the background is you need to have a cron job, or have the message queue system configured to run the cron job, this as a cron job. That's pretty easy to set up, and there's information in the Adobe Commerce documentation on how to do that. So again, that's pretty straightforward. So from a performance optimization perspective, I would say that this is a valid answer. As we can combine all of this information together, all the save operations together, we are reducing the load on the server as far as the initial processing time. And I believe, as I'm thinking about this now, recording this, I have not previously double checked, but I believe it also pushes the indexing operations off until the end of these different operations, which would be is a huge performance savings right there. So I would heartily state that this is a very good option here. And so A is definitely correct. Now let's look at B. This is a common temptation, but for the sake of performance optimization, it's probably not the best idea, although I don't think it's a horrible idea either. In an ideal world, we only push up the information that needs to be changed. This would mean that we might not actually be triggering some indexers. Hopefully, code on the inside of the system has been built so that given only certain value changes, certain other activities happen, as opposed to, okay, one value on the product change, then the whole thing needs to be re-indexed, which is unfortunately how it does kind of work when saving product attribute data. And so this, I would say B is probably not a great answer as far as if we can help it, let's push the as little information up there as absolutely possible. So I'm going to say no to B here. C, investigate using direct MySQL connection to save values. This, in my opinion, is a terrible answer. Now, we would all agree that a direct MySQL connection would be very fast. We could literally jump into the catalog product entity varchar table or the int table and just directly dump our changes into there. That's not a huge lift, although, when you cascade out the EAV options, etc., it can kind of start cascading, getting to be a bigger project. But at the end of the day, we then have indexing to work through and pushing that off to whatever processes, whether you're using Algolia or Clayvu or Adobe Live Search or the internal Elasticsearch system, whatever it is, we start running into problems as far as indexing and how you then kick that off. Do you now need an SSH connection? Well, that's kind of a terrible. I guess you have to have an SSH connection to get into MySQL, but it's not a great solution at the end of the day. So I would also say C is a bad answer as well. D, though, I think is a really good answer, though, that we should be giving in a situation like this. You see, D is if we can store up these changes so they're not made immediately, and depending on business requirements, this may or may not be possible. But if we can store them up and upload them off business hours, or certainly at every 5 minutes at a minimum, then we're able to leverage the bulk API. We are also able to offload this processing in just one batch, which generally represents efficiencies when it comes to creating or pushing this information up into Magento. So these are just 2 suggestions. There's probably 50 more. And this is especially important as Adobe Commerce keeps moving in this direction of App Builder. App Builder is this separated way for other functionality to happen in the background, but it all relies on the API. And if the API integration or the API communication is trash, not poorly tuned, or it is poorly tuned, at the end of the day, that's going to represent a very significant problem for realizing the value that App Builder brings to the application. So there is your knowledge bite of the day. I hope you found this beneficial, and make sure to drop your comments into the drop box below for how you like to optimize the API and make sure that is running at peak performance.